It's already been a year. Wild. As is the case with most Star Wars movies for me, when I watch them again, all the things that I disliked after the first viewing end up kind of rounding their edges. The things that I'm not a fan of just kind of mellow out a little bit. And they're not as front and center blatant points of aggravation or disappointment as they originally were. Maybe the subsequent viewings make me a little more apathetic? I don't know. Maybe they allow me to shrug my shoulders and go, oh well, it wasn't for me. Maybe they allow me to just kind of accept what I didn't like and embrace what I liked about a flick. I mean, this is only like the third, I believe this is the third Rise of Skywalker video I've ever made. Maybe fourth. Anyway, I didn't care for the movie. And I didn't have a desire to just pump out videos where I bitched and moaned for an entire year. That's not what I like to do.
But you talked shit about the prequels for a decade.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I made like 6 goofy prequel poking videos in like 10 years. So I suppose? I mean, the prequel stuff has been really spaced out over the past 10 years of this channel's existence, right? It was always incorporated into really dumb, fun skits that were just kind of like goofy ideas that I had. I mean, the biggest inspiration for this channel's existence is Angry Video Game Nerd. And for the first 2 years in some of my videos, I basically played Angry Video Game Nerd. Could you tell? I mean, this channel has never been even remotely close to the National Enquirer level hyperbolic, embarrassingly reactionary talk radio equivalent version of YouTube that we see today. But hey, sure.
The Rise of Skywalker, 1 year later!
I still love me some lightspeed skipping. That's some new and inventive, exciting
Star Wars
cinema. Look, my overall opinion of The Rise of Skywalker hasn't shifted all that much. I'm still not a big fan of the movie. In fact, it's one of my least favorite Star Wars movies. Obviously, as is the case with any Star Wars flick, even the ones that don't quite land for me, there's always gonna be something that I liked or even loved. But we're not gonna start there. Overall, The Rise of Skywalker, even a year later, feels like a mess. I didn't find that it tried anything new or interesting. I was ultimately underwhelmed by what I felt was a predictable, narratively unimaginative movie that played the conclusion of this trilogy safe, and that to this day, upon another viewing, gives me a sense of complete indifference to the conclusion of the sequel trilogy. Complete indifference to this movie. When I think of The Rise of Skywalker, I just kind of think of a generic summer blockbuster. Oh, I saw it. Okay. It didn't try to rock the boat, didn't try to challenge its audience in any way, didn't try to do much of anything new or interesting or compelling or memorable. Is this what we want to do? Is this what they think we want to do? Is this what they think we want? Too much going on, convoluted, cheap fan service. Overall, The Rise of Skywalker is not what I'm looking for in Star Wars. I want projects that challenge. I want projects that really try new and interesting ideas. And The Rise of Skywalker majorly missed the mark for me. I was hoping I would like it a lot more after a year and another viewing, but man, it's just not my cup of tea. I think if I could describe The Rise of Skywalker in one word, that word would be generic. I find myself, without a doubt, siding with the critic score on this one. I completely reject the idea that J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio had nothing to go on after The Last Jedi. That's a weird thing for me to hear. It's a weird statement. That statement makes no sense to me. There are so many directions that they could have taken this final installment of the trilogy in that didn't rely on bringing back a character in the most ham-fisted way imaginable. I mean, Colin Trevorrow's Duel of the Fates script is just one example. I mean, that certainly feels like a way more natural continuation than what we got. I don't know if you can tell, but that's really where most of my dislike for The Rise of Skywalker stems from. Palpatine being back. And that fact just kind of trickles down to the rest of the movie. I mean, the first 5 minutes of this movie is basically one long chunk of expository dialogue explaining that Palpatine is back. Palpatine has been everyone. Palpatine created Snoke. Palpatine has an entire fleet of conjured Star Destroyers on planet Tim Burton. It's just not for me. As I've said before, I do not have that, oh my god, it's that character. Oh my god, that character's not dead. Oh my god. Gene. I don't have that gene. I mean, when Poe delivers the line, we've decoded intel from the First Order spy and it confirms the worst, somehow Palpatine returned. Dark science, cloning, secrets only the Sith knew. The Final Order, Exegol, expository dialogue. Here's all the information you need. Man, swing and a miss. And I understand that I'm probably in the minority when it comes to this opinion. That's nothing new. I'm there quite frequently. So hey, if you liked this entire Palpatine plot point, cool. I'm glad you do. I'm glad you did. I want people to like the things that I don't like. Makes the world go round. But I definitely didn't like it. Good morning. It's a new day. Let's talk about what I liked. With another viewing, I did end up liking the movie more than I originally did. I ended up liking the movie more than I thought I would. It hasn't moved on my list of Star Wars movies though, and I'm still not a fan overall, but as I said at the beginning of this video, the negatives begin to kind of mellow out a little bit. Minus Palpatine. I don't think that narrative choice will ever mellow out to me. It's boring, it's unimaginative, it's just too dumb. But hey, one of the biggest silver linings in this entire movie is the relationship between Rey and Ben. It's solid, man. The relationship carried over from The Last Jedi felt cohesive. It felt like a natural continuation. A little rushed, but yeah, it felt natural. It's one of the few things that carried over smoothly from the previous installment. One of my favorite things we saw in The Last Jedi was their Force connection and the physical transfer of matter through this connection. We saw it in TLJ with the raindrops on Kylo's glove, and that concept was brought over to this movie where they're fighting in two separate locations, but in one location, snatching the necklace, analyzing it to find Rey's location. Great, fun idea, really liked it. And then the transfer of the lightsaber at the end of the movie between Rey and Kylo. I thought that was awesome too. I loved that moment because it's a fun continuation of what we saw introduced in The Last Jedi, the transfer of material, of matter. I loved that moment at the end of The Rise of Skywalker. It's just a fun and unique and new concept that brought something different. I think the crew have a really great chemistry. Rey, Poe, Finn, Chewbacca, 3PO, they're all together and it works and it's fun and it's often lighthearted and adventurous. Their banter is great. It feels like they're having a good time on set and that translates to the screen really well, in my opinion. I mean, man, honestly, broad brushstrokes here, that's really all I like about The Rise of Skywalker, Rey and Kylo's relationship, and the playful nature of the trio when they're together. Obviously, there's some great scenes that I haven't mentioned, some fun action from the First Order conference room where Kylo chokes that dude for questioning Palpatine's motives, to the Ben and Han scene, which is so great, one of the best scenes in the entire movie by far, replaying the events of their Force Awakens confrontation, but with a different outcome. Beautiful, great scene. From the lightsaber fight on the ocean, to when our crew lands in the First Order hangar and they're running and gunning down the corridors to save Chewbacca. There's some great individual moments here. But overall, man, even after a second viewing, the term that just always pops into my head is generic. Oh, they needed 2 lightsabers to defeat Palpatine's lightning? Cool. Oh, Palpatine's lightning is so powerful it goes and knocks out spaceships in space? Okay. Rey is a Palpatine? Neato. I mean, the idea of Rey being a nobody from nowhere was a really unique and interesting concept that I loved. But hey, sure. Just make her a Palpatine. Whatever. Next! There's so much in this movie that feels like fan fiction. That feels like you would see it on like fan fiction forums. And that's hard to define. But when I say that, I feel like we all kind of know what I mean. I'm not saying all the time, but often fan fiction leans towards the predictable. It leans towards the very familiar. It leans towards an encyclopedic understanding of a franchise that often rehashes ideas rather than creating new and unique ideas that maybe push some boundaries, try something different. It leans towards the unimaginative, and I don't know. It's hard to define, like I said. The Rise of Skywalker just felt like a bunch of tired ideas that maybe tried to please everyone, but in attempting to do so, it created fast food. I mean, maybe it tasted good while you were shoveling it into your face, but you're gonna be hungry an hour later, and you should probably take a vitamin. Sometimes I feel like the things that a lot of folks get upset about, I don't care about, if that makes sense. For example, Luke in The Last Jedi. I loved Luke in The Last Jedi. A lot of people were upset about that. I thought it was great. Again, I feel like sometimes the things that a lot of other people are upset about, I find interesting. But, I mean, really my only issue with this movie is Palpatine. It's boring. And I feel like the entire movie is a giant mess. That's the movie stuff, right? Dull narrative, but yeah. The things that a lot of other people on the internet get upset about, I often don't care about. For example, remember when a trailer for this movie came out? Or maybe it was a little preview clip, I can't remember. And the First Order troops have like jetpacks or something. And Finn and Poe say, they fly now? They fly now. You know, a fun little moment, lighthearted. It was like fast-paced fun, A New Hope style Star Wars banter. Fun, you know, fun. But then a ton of folks on the old internet said, well, jetpack troopers and jump troopers have been around for like hundreds of years. Shouldn't they know that? Of course they fly. Shouldn't they know that they flied? They flowed for thousands of years. Like, this is what I find kind of difficult about fandoms. It's what I don't really, not just Star Wars, but fandoms as a whole. There's a huge pocket of any fandom that kind of lacks the ability to look beyond an encyclopedic view of the franchise that they like. It's the inability to unbuckle and have some fucking fun. Anyway, so yeah, I don't know, man. I really enjoyed the first two chapters in this sequel trilogy for two very different reasons. The Force Awakens was a nice welcome home. The Last Jedi was a great step in a unique direction. And The Rise of Skywalker just ran into the winter woods naked on acid. Sometimes a movie just doesn't hit you, and you have to move on. Again, this is like the third or fourth scripted Rise of Skywalker video I've made in a year. I probably won't make another one for a very, very long time. HelloGreedo, out.